Everyone thought party mode was dead, banned, gone from Formula One forever. But after just 2 races in 2026, the FIA has confirmed something shocking. It never disappeared. Mercedes just turned it into something no one else can see. Back-to-back 1-2 finishes, perfect execution, and a car that suddenly finds extra performance, exactly when it matters most. So the real question is no longer if it exists. It's this: how is Mercedes still using it, without breaking a single rule? Stay until the end, because one hidden detail behind this changes everything. Subscribe now, because this is bigger than it looks. At first, nobody called it party mode, because that name was supposed to be history, something from another era, something Formula One had already removed. So when Mercedes showed those sudden bursts of speed in Australia, teams didn't panic. They explained it. Good setup, clean execution, strong energy management. That's what it looked like on the surface. But inside the paddock, it didn't feel that simple. Because engineers don't just look at lap times. They look at patterns. When performance appears, how quickly it arrives. And more importantly, when it disappears. And with Mercedes, there was something very specific. The speed wasn't constant. It was selective. They weren't the fastest on every lap. They didn't need to be. But when the moment came, they always had more. A little extra on the straight. A little more out of slow corners. A small but decisive gain, exactly when it mattered most. And that's what made people uncomfortable. Because that behavior felt familiar. Not identical, but close enough. Because that's exactly how party mode used to work. Not always active. Only when needed. Maximum performance, on demand. But here's where things get more interesting. Because under the current regulations, that kind of engine mode shouldn't exist anymore. Everything is standardized. Everything is monitored. There are no hidden buttons. No secret settings. At least, not in the way people expect. And yet, what Mercedes is doing looks like the same effect, just achieved differently. Because this is no longer about switching something on. It's about controlling everything perfectly. Energy deployment, battery usage, thermal limits, software decisions happening in real time, all working together. And that's where Mercedes looks different. Because when they need performance, they don't activate a mode. They unlock it. Through precision. Through timing. Through understanding exactly how far they can push, without losing stability. And that's something no regulation can easily stop. Because it's not a feature. It's behavior. But here's the key moment. The moment everything starts to connect. China. Because once again, at the exact moments where performance mattered most, Mercedes found another level. Not for the entire race. Not even for long periods. Just enough. Just when it counted. And that's when teams stopped asking if it was coincidence. And started asking something much bigger. What if this is the new version of party mode? Not illegal. Not obvious. But far more advanced. Because instead of turning something on, they're simply operating closer to the edge than anyone else. And never crossing it. And that's what makes it so difficult to challenge. Because you can't point to a single component. You can't isolate one system. Everything looks normal. Everything passes inspection. But the result is still different. And that's where the FIA confirmation changes everything. Because now, it's clear. There is room within the rules. Room to extract more performance if you understand the system better than everyone else. And right now, Mercedes clearly does. But this opens the real question. The uncomfortable one. If this is all legal, if this is all available to every team, then why does only one team know how to use it like this? And this is where the answer becomes uncomfortable. Because it's not that other teams can't do it. It's that they don't fully understand how to do it yet. And in this era of Formula One, that difference is everything. Because what looks like a simple burst of speed is actually the result of multiple systems working together. Perfectly. Combustion power, electrical deployment, energy recovery, cooling efficiency, software decisions made in real time. All synchronized. All balanced. And if even one of those elements is slightly off, the entire effect disappears. That's the level Mercedes is operating at. Not just fast. Precise. Because think about what that really means. To extract that extra performance, even for a few seconds, you need absolute confidence. Confidence that the battery won't overheat. That the system won't shut down. That you're not crossing a limit that will cost you later in the race. And that's exactly where other teams hesitate. Because they don't know where that limit truly is. So they hold back. They protect the system. They avoid the risk. And in doing that, they lose performance. Meanwhile, Mercedes is doing the opposite. They are using everything, right up to the edge, and stopping just before it becomes a problem. Every single time. And that's not luck. That's understanding. That's data. That's preparation no one else has yet. But here's where it gets even more revealing. Because this advantage didn't start in Australia. It didn't start in China. It started months earlier. During testing. When Mercedes was already running more advanced configurations. While other teams were still using safer ones. Learning the basics. Trying to understand the new system. And by the time the season began, Mercedes wasn't experimenting. They were refining. And that's a completely different position. Because experimenting creates mistakes. Refining creates control. And control creates dominance. But here's the real problem for the rest of the grid. Because this kind of advantage is not something you fix with one upgrade. It's not something you solve with one idea. You have to build it, layer by layer, race by race. And that takes time. Time they don't have. Because every race Mercedes wins is not just points gained. It's more data, more confidence, more refinement. And the gap keeps growing. But here's the final twist. Because even knowing all of this, even understanding how Mercedes is doing it, there is still one question that defines everything. If this is the new version of party mode, and it's completely legal, then what can anyone actually do to stop it? And this is where the entire situation reaches a point Formula One hates. Because now, there is no clear solution. Not for the FIA. Not for the teams. Not even for Mercedes. Because if this advantage comes from a loophole, you close it. If it comes from a part, you regulate it. If it comes from something illegal, you ban it. But this comes from understanding. And that's something you can't easily control. Because the FIA can change how systems are measured. They can introduce new sensors. They can tighten how energy deployment is monitored. They can even redefine limits under certain conditions. But none of that removes what Mercedes already knows. And that's the problem. Because even if the FIA steps in tomorrow, even if they adjust the rules, even if they try to slow this down, Mercedes is still ahead. Because they've already mapped the system. They already know the safe zones, the dangerous zones, the exact moment where performance becomes risk, and where risk becomes failure. That knowledge doesn't disappear. It stays. And it evolves. But here's where it becomes even more critical. Because the rest of the grid now faces a decision. Do you keep playing it safe? And accept that you're behind? Or do you push harder? Try to reach that same edge. And risk everything? Because that's the only way to catch up. You have to explore the limit. The same way Mercedes already has. But without the same understanding, that becomes dangerous. More failures. More reliability issues. More inconsistency. And we've already seen signs of that. Cars struggling. Systems failing. Teams unable to extract the same performance from the same hardware. And that's not coincidence. That's what happens when some teams are still learning, while one team is already mastering. And that's why this moment is so important. Because what happens next will define the entire season. Not just who wins races, but how the rest of the grid reacts. If teams start to close the gap, if they begin to understand the system, if they find their own version of this party mode, then we have a fight, a real one. But if they don't, if Mercedes keeps operating at this level, with this precision, with this control, then what we're watching right now is not competition. It's the beginning of something much bigger. Because dominance in Formula One doesn't start when a team wins. It starts when no one else knows how to beat them. And right now, after Australia, after China, after everything the FIA has confirmed, there is one question that no one in the paddock can answer yet. How do you stop a team that isn't breaking the rules, but simply understands them better than everyone else? And this is where everything finally comes together. Because at this point, it's no longer about what Mercedes is doing. It's about what the rest of the grid cannot do. And that's the real difference. Because after 2 races, everyone has seen it. Everyone has felt it. Everyone has the data. And yet, no one has the answer. Because if this was just speed, teams would copy it. If this was just setup, teams would adjust. If this was just power, teams would find it. But this is something deeper. Something invisible. Because what Mercedes has built is not just performance. It's predictability. They know exactly what the car will do. Every lap. Every corner. Every deployment phase. There are no surprises. No unknowns. And that gives them something far more valuable than speed. Confidence. Because when a team has confidence, everything changes. Drivers push harder. Engineers take smarter decisions. Strategy becomes aggressive but controlled. And that's exactly what we're seeing. While other teams hesitate, Mercedes commits. While others question, Mercedes executes. And that gap grows. Not just in lap time, in mentality, in control. But here's where the final layer appears. Because this is no longer just a technical battle. It's a psychological one. Because right now, there is one team that knows they are ahead, and 9 others trying to convince themselves they can catch up. And that difference changes everything. Because when you believe you're behind, you take risks. You push too early. You make mistakes. And when you believe you're ahead, you dictate the race. You control the pace. You force everyone else to react to you. And that's exactly what Mercedes is doing. Not chasing. Leading. Not adapting. Defining. And that's how dominance truly begins. Not when you win races, but when you control how races are won. And that's the point we're reaching now. Because after Australia, after China, after everything the FIA has confirmed, there is no more doubt. This isn't temporary. This isn't luck. This is a system working exactly as intended. And the rest of the grid is still trying to understand it. So now, everything comes down to one final reality. Time. Because in Formula 1, you don't get unlimited chances to catch up. Every race matters. Every weekend counts. And every missed opportunity pushes you further behind. So the real question is no longer technical. It's not even about regulations. It's this. How much time does the rest of the grid have before Mercedes turns this understanding into something no one can break? Because if that moment comes, then what we're watching right now is not just the start of a season. It's the start of an era.